Hey there, my friend, Silouan. You can't avoid Jeffrey Epstein, can you? Neither can I. And I want to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein today. A little bit different take than you might have seen other places, because I'm going to use it to lead to something I think you should consider if you don't already. So, first thing I did is there's just so much misinformation on the Epstein stuff, and unfortunately a lot of what's been released. I actually went to the Department of Justice website and I started looking through it. The problem with a lot of it is it's not completely clear. You know, there's so many redactions of the actual individuals that a lot of it's like, who's talking to whom? So there's a lot of the more salacious stuff that, you know, you just got to ignore. And then there's some other stuff that is just pure rumor. Like a lot of the things that have been put out there about the, about the Bushes or even Trump, a lot of it is like, it's not serious. It's nothing Jeffrey Epstein said. It's like some dude in his couch in Montana sent it in and the FBI interviewed him and here's what he said, you know, the Bushes ate people. And then they looked into it and it was totally bogus. So you got to be careful. So what I did is I just went through, and all these are verifiable, it was said. Like, you know, there was nothing in the email about, you know, a particular minor woman, and so they didn't really redact anything. And I just want you to notice the variety of the people that Jeffrey Epstein was talking to. The most interesting thing to me when you look through all the Epstein files is that after, in the early 2000s, when he was convicted of a crime, when everybody knew that this guy was going after young girls under the age of consent. Okay, you can argue whether he was a pedophile or he just wanted 14 or whatever. Everyone knew it. There is no indication that his influence or his communication with very powerful people slowed down. Nobody cared. There is no indication that until 2016, 15, something around there, 16, 17, there's no indication that anybody cared. So the first one, Deepak Chopra, you probably heard of him. He's the health and wellness guru. He's famous, okay? His name is in the Epstein files over 3,000 times. Him and Jeffrey Epstein are sort of talking about ladies. Now remember, he knows Jeffrey Epstein has been convicted, okay, for trafficking, molesting, whatever you want to call it, young women. 2017, right before he gets arrested, Chopra goes, God is a construct, cute girls are real. So here is a guy who built a $1 billion brand on spiritual enlightenment, basically going, God's made up, the guy who talks about spirit and God, and then says the only thing that's really real are cute girls. Notice not cute women, girls, to a guy who was convicted. Okay, that's Deepak Chopra on Oprah, all those things. Same year, Bill Gates. Now, a lot of the stuff on Bill Gates has been about all the sexual things, you know, the Russian hookers, you know, not wanting to give his wife an STD. This is the thing that I found that made me go, whoa. And it's basically between Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. Okay, now think about what happened just a couple years later with COVID. And he's talking about the types of things that he's interested in. And here's what Bill Gates tells Jeffrey Epstein he's interested in. A white paper on neurotechnologies as weapons in national intelligence and defense, and then follow-up recommendations or technical specifications for strain pandemic simulation. Guess what COVID is? A strain pandemic. Why would Bill Gates, to a guy like Jeffrey Epstein that knows everybody, be interested in neurotechnologies as weapons and strain pandemic simulation? He was into it. What could we do with something like COVID? Then there's this one, Sultan bin Salman. We've gone from like Deepak Chopra to Bill Gates. Sultan bin Salman. Now, who is Sultan bin Salman? He is a billionaire from Dubai. So in the Middle East, one of the richest people, very powerful all over the world, gives money, very respected. He can meet with presidents. He can meet with whomever he wants. And him and Jeffrey Epstein, and then there's two things with this. One, about just how base it is, but also, this is the level that Jeffrey Epstein had with these people. I mean, I don't even know if I have a friend that I'm that comfortable with, that you could say something like this. And here's what he says in an email to Jeffrey Epstein. Every married man keeps wondering every evening, should I go out and look at what I cannot F-word, or stay home and F-word what I don't want to look at? So they're basically having a casual conversation about how every married man really wants to go out and find some chick to look at some cute woman he wants to hook up with, but he can't. And then his only other choice is to go home, and this old hag he's got at home, does he want to F her? Now think about that. Think of who do you talk to that way? Who would you feel comfortable talking to this way? And he's got a billionaire, owns media companies, powerful all over the world. And then we go to some people, a guy you might not have heard of, but what's interesting to me, he's a professor, Robert Trivers, okay? Now, again, think about the Bill Gates comment about a strain pandemic. Robert Trivers, American evolutionary biologist and sociobiologist, he proposed the theories of reciprocal altruism, parental investment, facultative sex ratio determination, and parent-offspring conflict. So, no doubt, a smart guy. And in 2015, when all of this is public and Jeffrey Epstein's beginning to be talked about, Anat, in an email he says, the key here really are 14 to 15-year-old girls. Am I a sexual pervert because I say they are now reproductive age? Now, what was this smart guy referring to? We're publicly talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He minimized Epstein's assaults by saying, well, by the time they're 14 or 15, they're like grown women were 60 years ago, so I don't see the acts as so heinous or a big deal. Now think about it. That's the elite. That's one of the smartest people in the world. People look up to him. People go to him for advice. Politicians ask them, what should our, health policy be? And he's got no problem with Jeffrey Epstein having sex with 14-year-olds that he's manipulated and tricked to do so. No problem. He can't see the problem in that. He is so smart, he cannot see the problem in that. And then there's a guy, if you follow health stuff at all, you know this guy. He's all over the internet about staying healthy and staying vibrant. He's on TV, and he was on CBS News till he just got kicked off. But Peter Attia, longevity doctor, all about, peptides and testosterone. Well, in 2016, while this guy, very famous, on TV, all over the internet, knows people, I'm not going to say the word, but here's what he said. Again, and also think how casual this is. Think how well he needed to know Jeffrey Epstein to be talking about this in email. Here's what he says. The P word for woman's genitalia, P, is indeed low carb. Still awaiting results on gluten content, though. So they were joking about the nutritional value of a woman's genitalia. Now, I don't have conversations with my friend like that, even when I was probably 16. Okay? These are two famous billionaires, guys that know Bill Gates, guys that know politicians. That's how they're talking. That's where their head is. I go on. Martin Nowak. Now, he is a Harvard mathematics professor. Elite institution in the United States. Oh, you go to Harvard, you're going to be a senator. Oh, you go to Harvard, you're going to be on Wall Street. Him and Jeffrey Epstein are talking. And very casual email. And Nowak asking Epstein about the previous evening with some things redacted, asked her, did you torture her? And Epstein jokingly says back, our spy captured after completing her mission. Now there was a picture attached to that they didn't show. So they're joking. Think about that. 2014, a Harvard mathematics professor to a guy who's been convicted of taking advantage of young girls, okay, getting them to do sexual things they don't want to do, is joking to him about torturing women, and they think that's funny. Do you think that's funny? Do you think that makes them smarter than you? Do you think these comments make these people more enlightened than you? Do you think this makes it where Deepak Chopra or Bill Gates or Sultan bin Salman or Peter Attia or 1,000 other people, you think they know more about raising happy and healthy kids than you do? You think they know more about being happy and healthy than you do? You think they know more about God? You think they know more about anything that's important than you? They don't. This is who they are. Okay, who are we? For the most part, we are the person that nobody sees. We're what do? We get up early, we get up late. How do we treat people when no one's looking? How do we talk to our spouse? How do we talk to our kids when no one's around? That's who you are. This is who they are. And look what they've done to us. Now, you want to know one thing they've done to us? And I briefly mentioned this, on a previous podcast, just very short, how there's not really any programming that as an adult, you could sit down, watch with your kids, and it's appropriate for you and it's appropriate, for your kids. And so I went in and I did some Google searching, and it was hard to find exactly. So I got ChatGPT to help me. And here's what I asked. Now I want you to think about these people, because these are the people in charge. Okay, these are the people with money. These are the people that over a dinner go, here's what we need to do. Here's what our focus needs to be on this news channel. And here's what the programming we need to have at Netflix, okay? That is who these people are. And so I said, are there any current shows in production on any network, cable, or streaming platform that features a traditional American family of mom, dad, kids, and they're Christian? Now, that is still the majority group in our country. Now, it's quickly fading, but still to this day, I think I looked at the stats. It's like 37% of homes of people, families are that tradition. 37%. 20 years ago is 50 or 60. And you know what the answer is? How many shows in production show who we are, who you are? And the answer is basically none. The only example that could give is a Netflix show that isn't currently in production called The Baxters. It was filmed in 2018 by Maura Downey, who did, she was like the Angel show from years ago, and her husband does Survivor, and they got a lot of money. Well, they self-produced, which means they paid for a show that was gonna go on Netflix in 2018. They filmed 3 seasons. Netflix didn't show it, and then somehow, in 2024, they got it to show. And it is just a standard film about a middle American, evangelical Christian family, mom, dad, kids. Okay, that was the only other example they could give anywhere, okay, was the Duck Dynasty revival. Now, one, that's more a reality show than it is just a show. And two, even though they are definitely some God-fearing American people, I wouldn't necessarily call them traditional in a sense. It's Duck Dynasty. They're millionaires. They run this huge business. But that was it. So think about that. That means if you are sort of just, and this isn't even like an argument that traditional American family is the best thing. All I'm saying is there's a lot of that. Town I live in, there's a lot of that. A lot of people, mom and dad, kids that go to church. There is not one program on any platform currently in production that reflects you and your values. Not one. Okay? Not one. Now, then I asked it, and notice how I said this, nothing judgmental about it. I said, how many shows currently in production on any platform, cable, streaming, network, feature or have a predominant character or family living an alternative lifestyle? Alternative lifestyle. Okay, that's what I put. Now you know what that is? Now, and again, people living an alternative lifestyle, still in the minority. You know what that was? Guess what it was? 27 currently in production. So if you're a mom and a dad in a family and you want to go see a show that reflects you, nothing exists currently in production. You got to do what we do. You got to watch Andy Griffith's show. You got to watch, Leave It, whatever, okay? Does not exist, okay? You want to turn on something and show somebody, a family, whatever, living an alternative lifestyle, you got 27 to choose from. You know why? Because you got people that like Bill Gates and Deepak Chopra and Sultan bin Salman and Peter Attia and Jeffrey Epstein that love alternative lifestyles, because you know why? Because it kind of makes it cool to go after 14-year-old girls. And they like using the P word, and they like doing all that stuff. They're the ones paying for it, influencing it, telling you what people need. Now here's the most interesting thing of this. So there's not one really that exists. It came up as the number one, so you go in chat, you ask them that. Again, I said it a very non-judgmental way, so as far as it knows, I'm looking for them. The first show they gave, okay, as an example, that's on, Polyfamily on the TLC network, premiered April of 2025. What makes it alternative? Polyfamily follows a polyamorous quad, two married couples living together and sharing romantic connections and children, a non-traditional family structure documented in real time. That's sickness. No, I'm sorry, man. Hey, I'm one of those people, what you do in your bedroom's your business, but you're promoting like a house with like multiple moms and dads and kids with multiple moms and dads. You're sick. You're sick. Anyone involved with that show, you're them, man. Because I promise you, Deepak Chopra, who said, God is a construct, cute girls are real, would love to live in a home where he can screw whoever he wants and teach his kids to do the same. And I guarantee you that Bill Gates, who's interested in Russian hookers and sneaking antibiotics so he doesn't give his wife an STD, and neurotechnologies as weapons and strength, would love to watch a show like that. And I'm certain Sultan bin Salman would love a show like that, because he's probably got 20 wives and all kinds of consorts and, all sorts of things. And guaranteed old pervert Robert Travers, who has no problem, with Jeffrey Epstein screwing 14-year-olds, would have a problem with it. I'm sure Peter Attia, as famous as he is, a guy at his age who wants to stay all pretty and not age. Don't think about it. You got this guy probably 60. And all he's about is like, look how pretty I look, and look at my glistening chest, and look at how healthy I am. Well, what's he wanting to do with that health? Does he want to help old ladies across the street, or is he wanting to screw teenage girls? I guarantee you he thinks polyfamily is really cool. Martin Novak, heck, polyfamily's like nothing to him. He wants to see torture. Why do I bring that up, my friends? You're not crazy, man. You're not crazy. World's crazy. People running the world, crazy. People running the world unmoored. Unmoored, man. Following their worst instincts. Think of the destruction following their worst instincts has brought Bill Gates. He's going to be known forever as the billionaire pervert. He's going to be known as the guy that the day before yesterday, his wife is being interviewed, and she is asked, ex-wife, Melinda Gates, and she's being asked about the Russian hookers and the STDs and the antibiotics and the husband who went to Epstein Island to screw young girls, and the look on her face is, it is all true. And I'm gonna sit here and I am embarrassed. That's who Bill Gates is gonna be remembered by. And guess what? If we let them control our culture, if we let them determine what our kids watch, if we let them determine how we take care of each other, if we let them determine what our schools are like, we're gonna reflect it, we're gonna get it. They're not that much smarter than you when it comes to life. Now, they may be book smart. Bill Gates may know code and you don't know code. He might be more ruthless than you. Mark Zuckerberg might be more ruthless than you. But what you think about him is true. Because the one thing the Epstein files has revealed is the number of people in charge. And that old adage, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that old adage from the Bible, it's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle than a camel. It's because if you are not moored in faith, in family, in love, in taking care of your fellow man, you know what it leads to? It leads to this. So let me just challenge you though. The problem though is just pointing fingers, just going they're bad, when after all they are human beings too, probably all of them damaged in some way, doesn't really do a lot of good. Because honestly, they got the power, they got the money, they want us arguing. They want us distracted from what's important, okay? How do you really fight back? You know how you really fight back? You just do the right thing, man. You do the right thing. You turn off the phone. You get off the social media. You go to church on Sunday morning, okay? You love your kids. If you're single, you go volunteer for big brothers and little sisters and big sisters and mentor some kid at a high school that doesn't have a dad. You visit a prison and you love on somebody that's got no love. That's what you do. It makes a difference. I know it makes a difference. I've seen it make a difference. It's a lifestyle. You don't do it once and expect the domino to fall. You do it for the rest of your life, because we have people out there and all they care about is money and power and 13-year-old girls and worse. And they talk about it. We need a generation of people. We need an army of people that every day, because it's the right thing, you're helping your neighbor. You're becoming a better mom or a better dad, a better human being. You're rediscovering the discipline of faith. That's what we need. That's the only way it changes. It does not change. It's not going to change with a law. It's not going to change, with a president. It's not going to change with somebody else doing it for us. It's only going to change with us and our behavior and what we let our kids do. If all of a sudden no parent was letting Netflix watch their children's programming that they estimate 50 to 70% of what they say is for children as sexual content. 8-year-old doesn't need to watch sexual content, and innuendo doesn't. They do it so like mom watches and, she's getting off on it, I guess. But if no one watched that and all we watched was like, shows from the 60s, they would change what they do. Because at the end of the day, why they get away with this is because we allow it. We watch it. We let our kids watch it. We put up with it. We think it's funny. We look at Peter Attia, who's a sick pervert, talking about being healthy, knowing in the back of our mind, that guy wants to be healthy because he wants to go screwing, teenagers. And then we start thinking to ourselves, well, I look pretty good and look at me. And am I being healthy because I want to live till I'm 80 and enjoy my kids? Or am I trying to be healthy because I want to go to the supermarket and have people looking at me and go, man, look at him and look at her. We know, man, it's us. So do something about it. Make a choice. Stand for something. The little thing you do in your house, in your hometown, makes a difference, but it's going to take a lot of us. So fight back, my friends. The things we are fighting against are powerful, and they got a lot of money, and they're sick in the head, okay? And they ain't going to give up, and they're probably not all going to look in the mirror and go, what am I doing? What have I done to this world? And here's the great news. Fighting back, man, it's good. It's good sitting around playing board games with your kids. It's good calling an old friend. It's good mentoring a young man or young woman who has not had direction. And you're just like, hey man, I got your back. That's fun. It's good. You'll be glad. Hit up Cracker Barrel. Talk about life. Have some biscuits and gravy, some coffee. It's all good. You'll feel good in that moment. But you're at home, getting sunk into their hate, arguing with them. They're bad. It doesn't make you feel better. It makes you feel worse. So love someone, my friends. Hopefully I gave you something to think about. I will be back with more soon. I'm Silouan, as always. I appreciate you joining me. Make sure you share this, tell people about it. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.